What's happening, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. It is Saturday, March 29th, and we have the Elite Eight jumping off tonight. Got the first two matchups of the Elite Eight, so we're going to go over each of those contests here in this video. Talk about them, break them down, analyze them, and then we'll also go over which way that I'm leaning for each of those games. Then any plays that I put in officially myself, be sure to check down there into the pinned comment. I'm going to put a link in there that's going to direct you right over to the Guy Boston Sports website, and that's where all of my final plays will live, and they will live there for free. So make sure you check that out, guys. Now let's go ahead and get right into the action. Let's not waste any more time. Smash that like button down there for me if you can, guys. Hit subscribe if you haven't already. Let's get into it, man. The Texas Tech Red Raiders are taking on the Florida Gators in our first match of the night. Florida coming in 6.5-point favorites. Total sitting at 156.5. Now, this matchup, we got two teams that come into this game quite differently, right? They got here a little bit differently. Florida rolled in their last contest there in the Sweet 16. They knocked off Maryland by 16 points. And they afforded Coach Golden some, the opportunity to rest some of his players towards the end of that game, which is only going to help them moving forward. Texas Tech, on the other hand, was down 11 with under 5 minutes to play. They stormed all the way back to force overtime. And then in overtime, they went bucket for bucket with Arkansas and proceeded to break my damn hearts. With 7 seconds to play, they got the clutch go-ahead bucket. They go down on the other end of the court. They get the clutch stop, and they secure the victory. Man, a great comeback and another March Madness instant classic, man. That's what March is all about, right? It was a great game. Just cost me a little bit of dough in the process, but it's all good, man. It's all good, right? But hey, we need to keep an eye on the injury report coming into this one. All jokes aside, man, on both sides of the ball, Texas Tech has Chance McMillan listed as a game time decision. Now, he's missed the last 4 games now in a row for Texas Tech. The return for him could be pretty big for Texas Tech. He does average 14 points per game. He is their third leading scorer. And then he hits from deep at a 43% clip, and he shoots 88% from the stripe as well. So definitely somebody that they could utilize here in this matchup. And then for the Gators, we did see Alex Condon go down with an apparent ankle injury, although he was able to return, but he only logged 14 minutes total in that game and was definitely struggling in his return. He isn't listed on the injury report, however, but I would definitely keep an eye on this one as well, just in case, right? He plays a big part in what the Gators do. His absence after tweaking his ankle was definitely felt. He averages just under 11 points per game and just under 8 rebounds per game as well. So, like I said, a key component to what Florida does. If he's not out there, it's definitely going to affect how they maneuver on offense and really on defense as well. Both these teams sit in the top 10 overall. Looking at the Ken Palms, Texas Tech is sitting at 9th, Florida at 2nd. And then offensively, they're both top 5 units, right? Texas Tech sitting at 5th, Florida 2nd. Defensively is where we see some disparity between these two teams. Florida remains a top 10 unit, sitting at 9th, while Texas Tech is just 39th. And then looking at these teams against the spread, the Red Raiders are 4-6 in their last 10 games to the number. They've only covered in 1 of their last 5. They are 1-4 against the spread when playing against ranked teams. They're 1-7 when playing at a neutral site. Just 13-14 when coming into a game after a win. Just 18-18 on the year to the number as well. And looking at Florida, they're 7-3 in their last 10 to the number. They've covered in 27 of the 37 games that they've played on the year. They are 9-2 against the spread at a neutral site, and they are 22-10 coming into a game after a win. Looking at both these squads against the spread when they come into a game with equal rest, Texas Tech 11-10, Florida an impressive 17-5. I'm looking at them, against the number in non-conference games, Texas Tech 7-7, Florida 11-5. So Florida has been the better covering team on the season, no matter which kind of scenario you look at it, right? They're the better covering squad. They've covered as double-digit favorites in 14 of the 20 times that they've been favored as such. So I'm not scared of a 6.5-point line with Florida. They're covering big lines, right, throughout the course of the season. Let's pop over here to Outlier. Let's look at the last 10 games. Look at Florida with that 6.5 points, right? We can see they're hitting at a 70% rate. We can see Texas Tech also, 90% rate that they've covered that 6.5 points, right? But we can see also that the competition is not nearly what they will face with Florida. Arkansas definitely playing great ball. We can't get that twisted by any means. But then we scroll on down here in like who in the last 10 games kind of compares to Florida. Well, the only team that I can see on here that even holds a leg to Florida would be Houston, right? And we scroll on over and we can see that Texas Tech did not cover that 6.5 points when they played against Houston. So, and then as we push it back further, we can see, I mean, the number for Florida, that it just keeps getting higher. So, 70% for the last 10. If we look in the last 20, they cover this 6.5 at a 75% rate. Looking at it on the whole year, we can see it just gets more consistent, 78% that they've covered that. Let's look at this insight from Outlier as well. The Gators are 22-5 against the spread in their last 27 games. That's an 81% hit rate. And let's just look at the stats over here, guys. We can look at Texas Tech's offense going up against Florida's defense. Just a lot of disparities right off the rip. But I mean, here's the thing. It's like Texas Tech is a great squad, right? And we'll see this in the numbers here. But it's one of those scenarios where everything Texas Tech does good, Florida does a little bit better, right? They're 29th in terms of effective field goal percentage. You just scroll over here and look at the Florida Gator defense. They're sitting at 7th, right? Scroll on down. Let's look at points. Texas Tech scoring 81 points per game. Florida's only giving up 68. They're 49th in terms of field goal percentage. Texas Tech, 62nd in terms of two-point shooting percentage, 21st in terms of three-point shooting percentage. A good shooting team. You scroll over here to Florida, they're 12th in field goal percentage allowed. They're 11th in two-point percentage allowed. They're 10th in three-point percentage allowed. So, like I said, any way you cut it, where Texas Tech is good, Florida's better. Yeah, overall, definitely, I like this one. Florida minus 6.5. We can get this right now at FanDuel. Well, really across the board, we can see it's sitting at minus 115 now across the board. Next up, I'm looking at Alabama and Duke. Now, these numbers have shifted, man. It was sitting at minus 6.5 Duke when I looked at it, and when I was getting my notes together, it's now minus 7 Duke. The total was sitting at 174.5. It's now 172.5. And when we've seen that total move a little bit, man, we're going to talk about that here in this one. But, man, first of all and foremost, what a matchup we get here, right? They don't call it the Elite Eight for nothing, huh, man? Like, we definitely get two of the best teams in the nation going at it here in this one. And this should be an extremely entertaining matchup between what's the most consistent team all around and then the most entertaining team all around, right? The most consistent being Duke, the most entertaining probably being Alabama. And entertaining Alabama was, right, against BYU to get here for a chance to play for a trip to the Final Four. Man, talk about an insane shooting display. Like, who do we start with, right? I mean, I guess you're going to start with Mr. 10 times on the three ball, Mark Sears. Went off for 34 points on 10 of 16 shooting from deep. Man, crazy numbers right there. Some of them shots he was making, phenomenal, dude. Like, phenomenal. We saw Alabama hit from a 49% clip from downtown as a unit. They went 25 of 51. We also saw big shooting nights from Youngblood and Holloway as well, as they knocked down 5 and 6 threes respectively themselves. Look, Bama cruised to a total of 113 points. They knocked out BYU and won by 25 points over a team that myself and many others thought, like, not only could cover that 5.5-point spread that they were given, but potentially went outright, right? Hey, at least we smacked the over on that one. But hey, Duke also reached triple digits in their win over Arizona. They finished with 100 on the dot. They did so on the back of freshman sensation Cooper Flagg. He dropped 30 in that one. And then they had another strong performance from their supporting cast. Duke went 60% from the field in that one. They shot 58% from deep. They won the battle on the glass overall, and they dished out twice the assist as Arizona. So naturally, much has been made of each of these offensive performances from each of these teams in their last two games, right? The total opened up at 161.5 in this one between Duke and Alabama, and then it quickly started moving up. We saw it up to 171.5 just 20 minutes after the lines opened. So shitload of money was coming in on the over, I'm assuming, right? And then we saw it get up to 174.5, and 95% of the money is coming in on the over from the time that the line opened until currently, right? It's been on the over. Now we have seen the line start to go back down a little bit, 173.5 to where it's at currently, that 172.5. And I personally think that that's because all that money is being smashed on the over. So now Vegas is trying to get some money on that under too, try to balance things out a little bit, right? Me personally, man, I think it opened up lower for a reason. Like, why did it open up all the way down at 161.5? You know what I mean? Like, it opened up there for a reason, right? So I think that they have adjusted the line accordingly throughout the day since the line was out to kind of entice people to keep smashing that over like they did. Now they're moving it back down, like I said, to kind of try to balance things out a little bit. I definitely feel like we have the potential to see a under in this one. Now, both defenses gave up a ton of points in the last meeting, right? Obviously, Alabama looked dominating in their matchup with BYU, but we got to consider some things here, man. We got to consider the fact that the Cougars live and die by the three ball, and well, They died by it against Alabama. No other way to cut it, man. They only made 1 three-pointer in the first half, and then they only went 6 of 30 overall from deep, and they still put up 88 points on Alabama. I mean, looking at that one, they were able to feast inside, man. 20 of 26 shooting from close range. And then they were also active on the offensive glass. They pulled down 13 offensive rebounds in the process. And then you look at Duke, man, they had some issues on the defensive end as well, right? They gave up 93 points to the Wildcats, and they also struggled on the offensive glass. They lost that battle to Arizona as well. Both teams have also been over teams on the year more often than not. Bama has hit the over in 6 of their last 10. Duke has hit the over in 7 of their last 10, 3 straight as well. But we can't ignore the defenses at play here, and or the fact that each of these coaching staffs, like, they know the offenses that they're about to face. And they also know the defensive efforts that they just saw from their respective units. So I feel like defense will be the huge focus coming into this one. We're in the Elite Eight, man. The intensity is up. It's ramping up, right? The pressure is on. This is for a trip to the Final Four. We are 2 games away from the national championship. Defense matters. We also got to consider too, looking, like, yeah, these guys have smashed both these teams. They've smashed the over quite a bit on the year, but the totals haven't been, consistently up in the 170s for either of these teams. You know what I mean? They're hitting on a lot of overs in that 150-ish, 160-ish range. Sure, the 170 range, not so much. We could pop over here to Outlier and kind of check that out, right? In the last 5 games, we can see Alabama hitting to the under at a 60% rate to that 172.5. Duke at an 80% rate. You can push it back, and it's like, okay, Alabama at a 40% rate under this 172.5. Duke's now at a 90% rate, right? So, I don't know, man. I definitely think that we see a under in this one. We see or the under is hit in 4 of Alabama's last 5 games as well when going up against top 25 scoring defenses. And that's my thing here, man, is like I think everybody is hyper focused on the offenses in this one. This is why that line has crept up into the 170s, but these are 2 good defenses as well. Very good defenses. We got Duke coming in with the 7th ranked adjusted defensive efficiency. Alabama not too far behind, sitting at 26th. Like I said, these are solid defensive units. So, yeah, I'm definitely looking at that total, definitely looking at the under, but it's probably something that I'm going to wait till closer to game time. I want to see how that line keeps moving. If we can get that line to move up some more and catch it again at 174.5, man, I'm smashing that under for sure, for sure. But I still like it at 172.5. But like I said, I want to see where that line moves before I make any more or make a play on that one. So that's one to definitely check into that pinned comment for to make sure how we end up playing this, or if we do at all even. And then looking at the side, I do like Duke in this one. This feels like one of those games that, it's probably going to be close throughout much of the contest with the better team pulling away late. And in this case, it's the Blue Devils, man. Full transparency here. Alabama has faced the tougher schedule on the season, but all, in a battle of 2 teams that can score at all 3 levels, give me the team with the better defense here. I'm leaning Duke laying the points, but I'm not sure I get to the window on this one. This may be one that I look at it as a parlay piece and take Duke on the money line and parlay that. Maybe we parlay that with the total. You know what I mean? And we get that alternate, we get that up into the high 170s instead of where it's sitting at right now. And we take that under and parlay that with the Duke money line. So, yeah, this is one that definitely, like I said, check that pin comment. Let's see how we end up playing this one. All right, guys, that is going to wrap it up here. I hope you guys enjoyed the content. I hope you found it helpful and useful. And if you did, please do not forget to smash the like button down below and hit subscribe. It helps us out a ton over here at the channel. All 3 of us are very much appreciative. So, hope you all have a great day today, man. Let's start off the Elite 8 with a bang. I'll see you guys tomorrow. We'll go over the final 2 games of the Elite 8. Man, then we're on to the Final 4, the national championship. Just 2 more videos after that. Whew, it's been a blast, guys. We've been flying through this tournament. So, like I said, man, have a great day, guys. Hope you all cash out. I'll see you tomorrow.